Could Jesus have been an extraterrestrial being? Could salvation come not through sacred scriptures, but through cosmic radio waves? At a time when humanity was reeling between the Cold War and the threat of nuclear annihilation, an ordinary Englishman named George King emerged to proclaim what no one had dared to imagine. The prophets are not from Earth, and God may live on the planet Venus. King was neither a theologian nor a philosopher. He was a taxi driver who practiced yoga in his small apartment, until one day he claimed to hear an inner voice telling him, "You are the chosen one. You will transmit the voice of Earth to the universe." From that moment on, a new religious movement was born, one that claimed the true saviors of humanity were not Moses, nor Muhammad, nor even Buddha, but higher extraterrestrial beings who had come to rescue our planet from self-destruction. This is not merely the story of a cult, it is the story of a new and strange faith, born in London and directed toward the heavens. The story of the Aetherius Society, where God speaks through radio frequencies. George King was born in 1919 in England to a modest family and spent his youth amid the upheavals left behind by the two world wars. While his peers pursued stable careers or sought the pleasures of ordinary life, George followed a different path, one of meditation, seclusion, and immersion in esoteric literature. From an early age, he was drawn to Eastern teachings, training himself in yoga and practicing prolonged meditation until he claimed he was able to reach levels of pure consciousness that no one else had attained. On a spring day in 1954, while sitting alone in his humble London apartment, engaged in deep meditative practice, something occurred that would change his life forever. In the midst of the silence, he heard an inner voice, unlike any human voice, and unlike a mere thought arising from the mind. The voice was clear, commanding, and unequivocal. Prepare yourself. You are to become the voice of Earth. According to King, he was not hallucinating, nor did he doubt his mental well-being. He was convinced that what he had heard was a summons from a higher being. Days after this message, he claimed to begin receiving spiritual communications, not through a telephone, but through what he called full consciousness, from an entity known as Master Aetherius, a highly advanced being said to have come from the planet Venus. This entity, according to George, was not merely an extraterrestrial, but a cosmic teacher bearing an urgent message of salvation for the people of Earth. Gradually, these experiences became more regular. They were no longer fleeting spiritual flashes, but daily communication sessions. During these, King would sit in silent yogic posture and enter a state resembling a trance. In these moments, he claimed he was no longer speaking as George, but as a medium, conveying the words of Master Aetherius and transmitting his messages to the world. As these communications accumulated, King began to proclaim something even greater. He was not simply a receiver, but had been chosen by the Cosmic Council, a supreme spiritual authority composed of highly evolved beings from planets such as Venus, Mars, and a world he called Neptune 9. His mission, as he understood it, was to save Earth from a catastrophic fate and to help humanity transcend its karmic crisis. Later, George asserted that he was not an ordinary human soul, but a spiritual being from a higher dimension who had incarnated in a physical earthly body to carry out a specific mission during this critical era in the planet's history. From that moment, the transformation began. George King became the founder of a new spiritual system, one that sought to connect Earth with the stars, religion with science, and reason with intuition. Thus, the first spark was ignited in the story of the Aetherius Society, one of the strangest religious movements of the modern age. George King did not see himself merely as the founder of a new religion, but as a messenger of a creed that transcended Earth, one that addressed galaxies as much as it spoke to human hearts. With the establishment of the Aetherius Society in 1955, Following a series of intense spiritual communications, he began to shape a complete belief system that blended Eastern religions, Christianity, esoteric sciences, and cosmic science fiction. At the core of this doctrine lies the idea that Earth is not alone in the universe, and that extraterrestrial beings are neither mythical creatures nor military threats, as portrayed by Hollywood films. Rather, they are higher spiritual entities, thousands of years more advanced than humanity, originating from planets such as Venus and Mars. These beings, according to King, observe our fate and send us guiding signals, if we are prepared to receive them. According to King, the greatest teachers humanity has known, such as Jesus, Buddha, and Kuan Yin, were not originally from Earth. They were cosmic masters who incarnated in human bodies to transmit spiritual teachings, then returned to their original dimensions. Thus, religion, in the view of the Aetherius Society, is not an earthbound phenomenon, but a universal language, mastered by those who have attained a high level of purity. However, these beings, as King taught his followers, do not intervene lightly. Over thousands of years, Earth has passed through phases of spiritual decline, warfare, and collective selfishness, leading to the accumulation of what he called dark collective karma. The only way to avoid karmic punishment, or what King referred to as a spiritual explosion, is for a sufficient number of humans to awaken and demonstrate their readiness for change through meditation, prayer, and service to humanity. From this belief emerged one of the society's central pillars, the transmission of spiritual energy to Earth. King taught that there exists a cosmic energy that can be collected, much like electricity, and stored in spiritual batteries, devices he claimed to have invented himself. This energy could then be released during times of disasters or global crises. According to him, these spiritual rituals could lessen earthquakes, halt wars, or save entire populations from destruction if released at the right moment. King established a precise system for these rituals, combining collective meditation, chanting, and the directed use of mental energy. These practices were carried out at energy centers on Earth, carefully selected locations said to be directly connected to the cosmic spiritual field. The society did not seek to attract millions, but rather a select group of those pursuing transformation. As King often said, "This world will not be saved by numbers, but by purity." Within this doctrine, the universe was a living entity, pulsing with energy and will. Planets were not lifeless rocks, but schools and homes of wisdom. And the sky, as King believed, was not distant at all. It merely required those who were willing to listen. In one of the society's halls, bathed in a dim blue light, a group of men and women sat in orderly circles, their hands extended toward the sky, their eyes closed in absolute silence. This was not an ordinary meditation session, but a moment of cosmic communion, in which energies were sent from Earth to the heavens, and the spirits of the masters were invoked from the planets Venus, Mars, and Sirius. This was how a ritual of the Aetherius Society would begin. The society did not rely on familiar rituals like those found in churches or temples. Its practices, much like its beliefs, were hybrid and strange, a blend of Eastern spirituality, scientific techniques, and science fiction imagination. Every movement, every whisper, every device placed in the corner was part of a cosmic program designed to maintain the spiritual balance of planet Earth. The most important of these rituals was what was known as the spiritual charging service. These were collective sessions in which members directed their mental energy toward a complex metallic device that looked as though it had emerged from a laboratory in a science fiction novel. This device, as George King taught, stored cosmic energy and converted it into vibrations that could be released when needed, much like a massive spiritual battery. Each ritual had a specific time, often synchronized with astronomical events, eclipses, lunar phases, planetary alignments, during which, according to their belief, spiritual windows opened, allowing energy to pass between worlds. At such moments, members were instructed to recite special prayers, written in simple English yet imbued with solemn reverence. These prayers often began with "O Master Aetherius," and ended with pleas for assistance in saving humanity from karmic darkness. Another prominent practice was known as the service of spiritual forces. During these rituals, members sent their energy directly toward regions afflicted by war or natural disasters, hoping to produce tangible effects on Earth. Maps of the world were laid out before them. They pointed to global hotspots and focused their mental energy in those directions while chanting repeated invocations such as, "Let peace be granted, let it be bathed in light." The locations in which these rituals were performed were far from ordinary. They were carefully chosen as part of what were called Earth Energy Centers, places believed, according to the Society's teachings, to possess high cosmic frequencies. Mount Holdstone in Devon, England, was among these sites, along with locations in California, the Alps, and certain dormant volcanoes said to be connected to energy pathways between Earth and other planets. There was no strict dress code, though many participants wore white robes symbolizing spiritual purity. Planetary symbols adorned the walls, alongside images of Jesus, Buddha, and Aetherius. The goal of these rituals was not to build an earthly paradise or to wait passively for a miracle, but to actively participate in the maintenance of the planet. Members believed that every gathering, even if only 10 people were present, could make a difference in the level of global energy. Despite the apparent strangeness of these rituals, the scene was not mere spectacle. For the followers, the moment was sacred and universal, transcending self, language, and religion. They prayed, not to the traditional heavens, but to the planets, the stars, and the masters watching from afar, waiting for humanity to prove that it was worthy of salvation. Life within the society, contrary to what one might expect from a religious sect, was organized but not closed off. It was not a group that withdrew from the world, but one that sought to reshape it from within. Members were not required to abandon their jobs or families. Rather, they were encouraged to integrate the cosmic doctrine into the details of their everyday lives. They met several times a week, usually in the evenings after work. Meetings typically began with a meditation session, followed by readings from the cosmic messages, and then discussions about energy, karma, or the influence of Venus on human vibrations during that particular week. These gatherings resembled meetings of spiritual scientists calmly debating cosmic theories in a language rich with quotations from King. After several years, specifically in the early 1960s, King moved to Los Angeles, and everything changed. In California, the Aetherius Society found an audience more receptive to its ideas. A new headquarters was soon opened in the Hollywood Hills, overlooking the city with its glittering lights, as if quietly monitoring the pulse of planet Earth from afar. Within this headquarters, activities expanded. Rituals were no longer limited to silent sessions, but became public events, sometimes even attended by the media. King delivered weekly lectures to small audiences, using projection equipment to display images of planets, energetic maps of Earth, and occasionally audio recordings of what he claimed were direct messages from Master Aetherius. What stood out about the society was the absence of coercion or social isolation. There were no secret initiation rites, no harsh loyalty tests, and no tyrannical leader. King, despite his central role, was presented as an instrument, not a deity. He consistently emphasized that the truths come from the heavens, not from my person. On annual occasions, members organized group journeys to what they called places of spiritual power, such as Mount Palomar in California or Holdstone Down in Devon, England. There, they sat in circles, meditated for hours, and gathered cosmic energy believed to accumulate at these carefully selected geographical points. In those moments, high above the cities, where clouds brushed against faces and the wind howled in stillness, followers felt something that transcended ordinary consciousness. As one member wrote in his journal, "The universe is not distant, it is within us." Despite all its strangeness, no cases of violence, exploitation, or abuse were ever recorded against the society. It was not legally prosecuted, nor accused of suspicious activities. It was a sect, yes, but a different kind. Spiritual, peaceful, quasi-scientific, living on the margins of reality and searching for hope in outer space. When George King passed away in 1997, the scene was neither bleak nor somber, as might be expected upon the death of a spiritual sect leader. His followers appeared prepared. They did not see his death as an end, but as a new transition for his spirit, long said to originate not from this world, but from a distant planet, which had completed its mission and returned to its cosmic home. Yet the question remained: what would become of the Aetherius Society after him? Could a sect founded on his voice and connection continue once that voice was gone? Surprisingly, the society did not disband. It continued its activities at a steady pace, maintaining its identity, even while remaining on the margins. There were no demonstrations, no extremist proselytizing, no media-driven campaigns, just a quiet spiritual movement relying on King's writings and the archived recordings, claimed to be messages from Master Aetherius. Despite this continuity, the society never became a mass movement, nor did it expand as other sects have. It remained small, limited, confined to spiritual and intellectual circles, numbering only in the thousands worldwide. This, it seems, was exactly what King had intended: a committed, loyal community living in harmony between science and religion, between the stars and Earth. In the study of modern religions, the Aetherius Society is classified among New Age movements, belief systems that emerged in the second half of the 20th century, blending Eastern spirituality, science fiction, and cosmic prophecy. What sets it apart from others, however, is that it never sought control or political influence. At its core, it remained a quiet salvational movement, offering hope in the form of spiritual vibrations. Many may view the Aetherius Society as a form of delusion or a religious whim drifting through the realm of science fiction. Yet behind this strange exterior lie questions as old as humanity itself. Are we alone in this universe? Is there someone out there listening? In the end, whether you believe in messages from Venus or see King as nothing more than a well-meaning man who shaped a dream to fit the scale of the galaxy, what he created remains a genuine human experiment. An experiment that suggests that within the furthest reaches of madness there is a trace of wisdom, and within the strangest sects, a fragment of truth. The Aetherius Society, the sect that believed salvation was not a miracle, but a cosmic frequency, waiting for someone willing to listen.